Welcome to the Honest Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jody King. As an artist for 20 years, instructor, speaker, author, and fellow rebel, I've worked with thousands of people around the world, from beginners to established artists, helping them create their strongest art and build a career doing what they love. So if you are ready to have a little fun while you learn about art, creativity, building a thriving art business, and living a bold, audacious life, you are in the right place. Also, if you're considering going pro in your art business, grab the PDF in the show notes on the 5 things they don't teach you in art school. All right, let's get messy. Hello and welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I am Jody King and I'm so excited to be able to share with you 2 amazing artists that you're just going to love. Today I have with me DeAnne Williamson and Marsha Nieland. And before I introduce them, I just want to tell you that, like I said, this is the first time I've ever interviewed 2 artists at the same time. And we were just talking before we got started that this is technically our first threesome. For all of us. You got to start somewhere, right? So I first met these 2 amazing, incredible artists in my program, Studio Elite, I guess almost a year ago. And, it's a pretty intimate, high-touch program, so we got to know each other quite well. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. First one is DeAnne, and DeAnne is an artist in the Bay Area in California. She's a visual artist with a focus on female portraiture and botanicals. And I'm going to suggest you guys at the end of this podcast, go check out the work of both of these artists because it'll make so much more sense and you're going to love their work. The theme of her art is of roots and growth and empowerment. All of that is woven into her artwork. And she came to art and painting as a way to process emotions, like so many of us. Her work has been shown in galleries around the country, and she is in high-profile private collections. I know who these people are, but I don't think we can probably say them. She fancy like that. She teaches art journaling workshops that are they book up very quickly, and she believes in using art to build community. And then we also have Marsha Nieland. So she's out of Cedar Rapids, and she's an artist. And I love that she calls herself a possibilitarian. I said that without getting tongue-tied. Marsha, aren't you proud of me?
I'm really proud of you.
She's an intuitive artist and a longtime teacher of yoga and meditation. She offers a playful and soulful approach to creative experiences. So, and that, Marsha, I just feel like that those 2 words really just epitomize you, playful and soulful all at the same time.
Thank you.
You blend art, yoga, and meditation in your highly sought after workshops, or play shops, as you call it, and your destination retreats. And Marsha is also passionate about holding space for others while they discover and nurture their creative gifts. So say hello. DeAnne, you take it away first. How's it going?
Good. So excited to be here. I'm so excited to see you again. I know we were besties for a while, and then now we haven't seen each other in a long time. So it's good to see you guys.
I know, it's always so sad. I see that you're joining us from your new studio.
Yes, very exciting.
And when did you move in?
I just moved in at the beginning of February. So it wasn't even, this, it wasn't even really on my radar, but I just, in the back of my mind, I knew I was kind of outgrowing my home studio. And I just put a feeler out, just like a couple of them. I wasn't even totally serious about it yet, but then this space became available and they reached out to me and just said, "You're the first one on our list. Do you want it?" And so I had to decide right then and there. And, I always think that if something scares me and excites me at the same time, it's the right decision. So that's kind of how I decided to move in here.
I love that. It scares you and excites you at the same time. That's a great way to live. And Marsha, You just got back from Mexico.
I
Yeah.
did. I did. I had the most delicious women's retreat there. And so I'm all refreshed and just feel really, first of all, grateful for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to be on the podcast. I'm excited to see you and DeAnne again and to catch up. But yes, Mexico was lovely. And I feel all refreshed and ready to go.
That's awesome. It's so good to see
Yeah.
you guys too. So for the audience out there who's going to really be able to relate to you because of their own creative pursuits, can you, DeAnne, we'll start with you. Can you tell us how and why you decided to get into, to become an artist for your own creative pursuits?
Yeah, I was always an artistic kid, and my dad was an oil painter as like a hobby, and so we had kind of a creative household, and everyone was encouraged to kind of pursue that stuff. But I decided to take it a step further and try to become a graphic designer. So I went to San Diego State in the graphic design program, and I worked as a designer for many, many years. And I loved it. I mean, I thought it was like, how lucky to be able to do, have a creative pursuit become your job. I just didn't know how that was going to happen. But I realized later that once I started, creating art, fine art, I felt like, oh, actually, no, this is the thing. Like my heart exploded with like a joy that I can't even express. It was just so different. And so when I decided to go full-time, well, I started it as a side hustle while my kids were little. I just was kind of doing it for fun. And then as time went on, it just started to snowball, and it just got bigger and bigger. And then I realized, like, no, this is the thing that I want to do. And this is the thing that I feel the most passionate about, and also relates to my purpose. And so I just started, pursuing it full time, not even necessarily knowing what I was doing, but, you got to just go sometimes.
Like just one thing leads to the next and kind of leads to the next.
Exactly.
But yeah. I recall you talking about how when you originally went to art school, and I'm bringing this up because so many artists think, well, I can't make this a business because I didn't go to art school. But tell us what you were saying earlier about, well, I did go to art school.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about being an artist as a business. I mean, it just wasn't even a thing. I don't remember that ever being a topic that anyone brought up. It was just, okay, so how are you going to take your creativity and work? And the best way was to become a designer of some sort. And so that's why I did that. I knew I wanted to be in a creative field. I just didn't know how to make a living at it other than to become a graphic designer.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And I enjoyed it. But once I decided to become an artist, I realized, I mean, like, I know people would say, well, you're an artist. And I would say, no, I'm a designer. That's a different thing. That's not even the same thing. And so, I guess it's just that I knew, I could feel it in my heart that this was the thing for me. And I think that's what, if you're an artist out there, you kind of know that feeling where you just have to do it because it feels like something you're called to. And so that's just kind of what made me decide to go for it. My husband was super supportive too. And he just kept saying, like, you're really good at this and it makes you happy. And so you should keep going forward. So I did. And
sometimes it just takes that one person to believe in us just a little bit more than we believe
in ourselves. Exactly.
For sure. So Marsha, can you tell us a little bit about you? Did you start young in wanting to go to art school in painting? When did it happen for you?
No, as I reflect back, I believe I was always a creative child. Like, I love to draw and just love to color, but I felt like I excelled in my creativity. If you look at it from the world standards with dance and music, like that's what I was most passionate about. I danced from the age of 5, and I like to choreograph things, and I was into music and band and all of those things. And so I was creative, but not in, the artistic sense. I did take art class because I enjoyed it, but I remember falling into compare and despair all of the time. Like I would look at my person next to me and was like, I'm not that good at this, and I'd even cheat. I'm not proud to say that, but I'd be like, I can't draw the hand on this person. And I give it to my friend who was really good and say, can you just draw the hand for me? So yeah, I did. I admit it. True confession.
I did the same thing with math homework. So no,
Oh, man.
like
Me
I'm
too.
just
Yeah. So
like I don't know
remember,
how to do math either.
yeah, that's so true. I don't either. So I remember liking art and intuitively inside, but not comparing to, not, measuring up to other people in art class. And so I didn't continue down that path. But later in life, for me, it became a really strong inner prompting. As I reached age 50, I was like, I need a hobby. I need something as I grow older, something that I can do, inside on a cold winter day in Iowa or wherever I'm at. And so that inner prompting led me to the craft store, purchasing, some canvases, paints, brushes. I got home, put them on my table, and looked at YouTube a little bit, University of YouTube, you can learn anything. And then I became just freaking paralyzed. Like perfectionism came up. Dun, dun, dun. What if you waste this canvas? What if it's not pretty enough to put on the wall? And then I was like, well, crap. I can't even do this hobby now because that little voice inside is telling me I might not be good enough. So I found my way through that with the help of some other people and just looking at art from a different perspective, more about the process. And I geek out on brain things, so like, oh yes, it will shift me to my right brain and I can't be stressed if I'm in my right brain. And so I'm going to do it for a way to de-stress. And so
Yeah.
I have played with art. I'd say played with art for, a few years, and I had no idea how important it would become to my health and my mental health and my well-being, because a couple years into my art play and journey, my mom started down the path of dementia. And so art became a soft landing place for me to process emotions, as DeAnne says, and a place like when I was completely stressed out and have no control over anything, I could go to my little art space and it always made me feel better.
I hear that. I feel like art has saved me in so many ways also, mentally for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I also find, and I think we touched on this when we were doing Studio Elite together. There's sometimes that just life pulls me away, whether it be business or family or whatever that might be, pulls me away from my creative practice. And I'll feel like something is off with me. What is going on? And I'll be like, oh shoot, I haven't painted in a couple of weeks, or or maybe it's a month or even longer. And so it doesn't matter, how long we have been doing this, it still is like oh snap, I got to get back to doing that thing that just calls to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
You brought up Marsha, you turned 50 and you just thought, I want something, a hobby or something for me. And I find that so much right now is that women in, this midlife time are like, it's time. I got to do something, to honor myself. What I found so remarkable about both you, Marsha and DeAnne, when we were working together in Studio Elite, is you both took this little art idea, right? And DeAnne, I know you were doing a little bit more. You took this and you really dug deep and you went in with your own ways of making your own art. So DeAnne, can you speak a little bit to the kind of art you make? Because I mentioned it briefly, but the kind of art you make, and how it's had an impact on you, or maybe others, but how it's had an impact on you in your life.
Sure. Yeah, especially the figurative work that I do is, I think this particular series that I've been working on now for, gosh, 3-ish years, started kind of right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I mean, I had been painting forever. I'd been painting for now it's probably been 18 years, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I really felt this call to create work that felt like it was reflecting what we were all going through. You know, at the time, my kids were in like junior high and grade school, and they were home, or ninth grade and grade school, and they were homeschooling. And for whatever reason, I felt like I was getting more painting done than ever. I'd have 2 hours here and 2 hours there, and I would go out and I would just create work because it felt like the only outlet that I had at the time. And you know, that's why, like, again, when Marsha mentioned her mother, and I mean, for me, when I first came to art, it was because my parents my mother had been sick for many years and passed away. And then my father, quickly after she passed away as well. And I just, like, it just switched my life around, and I realized, gosh, this life is short, and what am I doing? I don't even like my job. And I just changed everything. And that's kind of why, and how I came to art, was to express the emotions that I just didn't have any words for. And so that's what my work is about now. And I think I focus on women because I've just been fascinated by the women in my life and how they've always been there at all the different moments for me. And
I mean, there's nothing like female friendships, right? I think
yes,
we don't celebrate that enough.
Exactly. I have 3 sisters and I have many friends, and I feel like women just like carry such a load. And I mean, I know men do too, but there's something about this heaviness that we tend to carry, whether we put it on ourselves or it's put on us by other people. It feels like it really needs, that story needs to be told. And that's kind of how I feel. And that's why I've started to do these paintings and tell these stories.
Yeah. And they're resonating with.
Yeah. I think women see themselves in it. So it's been really going really well that way.
Yeah, I'd say it's going well. I mean, I know both of you when you guys both did collections during the holidays, you both had very successful launches of those collections and very, very collectible. Marsha, can you tell us a little bit about your art, and has it changed over time? I mean, I feel like the art that I saw you do when we were together with Studio Elite was, I think back about you did some mixed media stuff, but you also did some floral pieces that were like incredible. Has it evolved, and what has it done for you?
Yeah, so first of all, the kind of art that I make, you have me thinking here, what is the kind of art that I make? People always tell me that when they look at my art, when they look at my art, that it makes
Same
them
thing.
feel, yeah. They tell me that when they see my art, it makes them feel happy. And that makes me feel happy to know that I am sparking that in someone else. And so I really have the intention when I'm painting that I want the viewers of my art to experience a sense of joy and freedom and aliveness, which I've been teaching yoga for 30 years, and that is a bedrock teaching in yoga, that it is our birthright for every person to feel joyful, to feel free, to feel alive. And so I feel like that just gets infused into my painting because of the process that I do when I paint. And I use acrylics and mixed media and do some collage. I love paper. I love to feel paper and smell paper. And so when I did my collection, I think I was drawn to do some paper hearts or art. I keep saying hearts, paper flowers. Geez, I'm in the heart space today. And also, I love moving paint around. So I did the florals as well. And I would call my art soulfully inspired, again, because of the process that I use when I paint. And I'm drawn to florals, abstract florals, but I'm also drawn to something now that I call soul art. And that's just a lovely way of really helping either inspire people to put their soul language or soul vision on a piece of art, or also to help them heal and process some emotions.
I'm
So
glad you brought that up, Marsha, because we came to know each other because you guys took my mentoring program, Studio Elite, and you both ended up doing, you just watching in such a short time, doing some really cool things because of the program. Can you tell us? Gosh, I'm just going. I'm pausing because I'm like, I'm thinking about your work. I'm thinking about the different things you did, that from workshops to literally the work to all your personal evolution. But for you, can you tell us one thing, DeAnne, we'll start with you, that you learned about yourself and you learned about maybe your art, just anything, it could be anything, you know, from our time together in Studio Elite?
I think it gave me a level of confidence that I didn't have before. I mean, I was doing the work. I pretty much was doing everything already. I mean, I had a pretty successful career, I would say. I was kind of going for it, you know, and was ready. My kids are teenagers, and I felt like, all right, this is my time. This is my time to like really get into it. And that's kind of why, you know, I invested in myself that way, to take the mentoring program, because I really was ready to like take it to the next step. And I can't recommend it enough, because I think when you're an artist, you're just working solo, and you don't even know if you're on the right path. You sort of are guessing and you think you're on the right path, but it's just so helpful to kind of align with someone who you feel connected to and who will honestly tell you, here's what I think is going on with you, and here's where I think you can get better, and here's where I think you are doing great. And it just feels so good. So there's something about that gave me this confidence about running it as a really, you know, self-sustaining business and being a working artist and calling myself that with a lot of confidence. Because I don't know that I was able to do that before, like be as confident in telling people what I do and explaining it and being really, you know, concise about it.
Yeah, well, your shoulders are definitely back a little bit more and your feet a little bit wider, and looking at you in your gorgeous studio space.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that you just believe in yourself to this level now. You're like, you know what, I'm going for it. I can do this.
Yeah, I think there's, you know, there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome that comes into play when you're an artist. You know, you tend to think like people are going to say, well, who does she think she is? She's like doing this stuff but when you know that you're doing what comes from your heart and you're called to really do, you feel like, I mean, I now feel really confident. This is I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think that comes with, you know, learning to follow your heart and to listen to the messages you get and the signs.
For sure. Marsha, how about you? I mean, is there one thing that you can think of that?
Jody, this is a hard question. One thing, like I have a whole list of freaking things that I learned from Studio Elite. It was a home run for me. So I'm going to try to sneak in one, but then maybe two. That this program was so amazing and helped me. It was exactly what I needed. And I ditto what DeAnne just said. I was reflecting on what, you know, if I had to summarize what's happening or how this program helped me, it would be clarity, confidence, and connection. I got clarity on the why. Why am I painting in the first place? Why do I want to go down the path and make this into a business? And what type of art am I making? I had confidence, like DeAnne said, like I finally say I'm an artist. Where it was before, I would always tell people, I play with paint, I play around with art, but no, I'm like, no, I'm an artist. And it takes a while for me to hear that. But I believe it now. I am an artist. And the connection part, as DeAnne mentioned too, we feel like we're on an island as artists sometimes. We just trudge along in our own world, and having a connection with you, Jody, and with the 7 other artists in this program was invaluable. And even now, beyond the program, we still have a little group where we connect, and we know that we can reach out to you every single day. No, I'm kidding. We can reach out to you once in a while. We have you on speed dial. What would Jody do? I have a little WWJ bracelet on. What would Jody do? But I also want to sneak in one more thing, and it's the name of this podcast, Honest Art. Like, I feel so free in my mind knowing I can do honest art. Whatever is coming out of me is perfectly fine, and I can do it the way I want to do it, and I can blend it with my other passions, with yoga and meditation. I don't have to just be an artist or a yoga meditation teacher. I figured out a way to blend them together, and that was liberating for me because I felt like I was at a crossroads and I had to make a choice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very
Oh my
cool.
gosh. My face hurts because I'm so happy to I'm so happy just to be in your world, both of you, and to just be a little part of your journey. It just fills my heart so much to be able to support you in this. So I've got a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get to a question that the previous guest has asked for both of you. But 2 more questions before that. And the first one is, personally, we're going to hear from, people that are going to listen to this. Some are artists, I wouldn't even consider themselves artists, but they like to paint a little bit, right? Just kind of what you were saying, Marsha. So can you speak to what has been most personally fulfilling? And DeAnne, I'll start with you. What is the most personally fulfilling part for you of being an artist?
Being in Studio Elite or being an artist?
No, just being an artist in general.
Oh, okay. For me, it's teaching. Because once I started making art, and then I was asked to teach, and at the time I thought, I don't really know how to teach, but what I knew I had to share was what I had learned myself. And what I had learned myself was that there is an expression in art that allows you to go inward, to become acquainted with your inner voice. And then that in turn can help to heal. And for me personally, art was my healing. And so I realized, well, I don't want to teach technique. I don't necessarily want to teach people how to paint. What I want to teach them to do is to express themselves. And so I started I created a work.
Hold on. I just think that's so beautiful. It's the epitome of honest art. And I love the way, and y'all both do this, is like it's not about you, the teacher, it's not about your ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's you both facilitate others bringing their own truth, excavating that and bringing that forward. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just think it's beautiful.
No, that's really my intention, is to create a container and a space that allows people to discover themselves, because it's been such an mind-blowing and earth-changing thing for me to know how to use creativity for healing, that I feel really strongly that that's my mission, is to share it with other people. And so every time I lead a workshop, we do art journaling. So we do work in a book, and that's why I like to do it in a book, because I feel like it can be just personal. It can be for yourself. You can close the book and put it away until next time, or you can show people if you want to, but there's no pressure to have to hang it or to feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for this, So I get many, many people in my workshops aren't even artists. They're just people that are drawn to being creative. And I think everyone has a draw to that at some point. And so for me, it's really I just love when people say, like, today was what I needed, today was what I needed. And so that for me is all I really want, is to just show up. And now I'm trying to turn it into an online course. So hopefully soon I'll be offering it online.
That's so necessary. I really, if I can encourage you or support you in any way with that, I hope you'll reach out, because we need more of what you both do in the world. We need more people healing,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
heal people instead of hurt people.
Right. That's actually really true. And that's probably the question I get asked the most is, how can I take this if I'm not local to you? And I haven't been able to offer it before, but I'm working on that as we speak. So hopefully
That's awesome.
soon.
All right. So let's stay in touch with that.
Definitely.
Marsha, how about you? What is there one, like, what's been so personally fulfilling for you?
So I would say it's funny how DeAnne and I are in similar mission, right? Healing. And it is twofold for me personally as I paint and sell my paintings. It's knowing that I'm adding more beauty into the world, a world that sometimes doesn't look so positive. And so if it's just a spark of color in someone's house that sparks some beauty inside of them, that means a lot to me. And just creating a spark of joy in them when they look at the energy of my art. And then also helping others uncover their creative gifts, because we're all creative, regardless of what false story someone has told us. We are creative beings, and seeing how art heals people. For example, during my soul art sessions that I do, I've seen the gamut. I've seen soul art sessions or private sessions where a person will come in. I have the room set up, and so we start with breath work, which helps people get out of their heads and into their heart space where the creativity bubbles up and calms their nervous system down so they don't have anxiety about what they're going to be doing. And then we do a meditation, and then I have a big canvas, and they start to lay a foundation of what's important to them and infuse it with their energy. And so and then I take it and
Can we just hold up? That's so fucking cool. I mean, it's just so cool. I remember when you started doing this during Studio Elite, and my mind was just blown. It was like, this is remarkable the way you do that. So I'm sorry to interrupt. But that is,
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Thank you. It's, you know what? And it's fucking cool because it gives me an opportunity to blend everything that I love together, and all of those modalities together are super potent. And so one woman might make something that just is, underneath as a word message of hope for her. And then recently she went through a breakup, and she sent me a picture and said, I broke up, I moved my painting to my new place. It's on my wall, and I know it represents hope. And every day I walk by it, that's what I remember. And I had another couple recently come in, man and wife, which I had never done before. And they lost their 21-year-old daughter to suicide not long ago. And so they wanted to create a painting to commemorate her life. And they have a place in their living room. They're going to put it. But just watching the process of them write about their daughter in crayon, and I didn't think I was going to get them out of the studio, and that they just kept pouring out more and more emotion. They laughed and they cried, and now this piece of art, when it's complete, will be a beautiful memory of their daughter, and they infused it with their energy. So it's very rewarding to know that you're helping someone heal and process.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredible. What a beautiful thing that you both are doing. This is not something that I prepared, like suggested that ahead of time that we talk about. And so I'm just going to say, if you don't feel comfortable talking about that, that's fine. But I do think that so many people that are considering doing Studio Elite, they've got really one major question. Am I going to sell more art? Like, is this going to help me sell more art, or is this going to help me grow my business? And so, like I said, did not prep you for this ahead of time. Don't know what you're going to say. DeAnne, what do you think?
I think everything that you do to become better and more in tune and a better artist is going to help you sell art. I mean, if that's your goal, then working on yourself, investing in yourself is always worth it. I mean, for me, that if I had to give advice on what to do to become a successful artist, one of the things would be to find someone to mentor you or to coach you, because I think that it's hard to work in a vacuum, to just be completely alone all the time and second guessing yourself. And so it's really helpful to have another set of eyes on your work, for at least to help you get your art better, maybe, because we do that in Studio Elite. You do critiques.
Right.
So we talk about our art, which is really the most important thing. If you want to sell art, you want your art to be good, right? So yes, we do that. And then we talk about ways to sell it. We went through a whole system of, we all did a holiday collection together, which was really helpful to know how to promote it, how to get it ready, how to, put it out there, how to sell it. Then when you sell it, then what? Now you got to package it, now you got to ship it. So yeah, I mean, for sure, it was helpful that way, I think, like, no doubt about it. And like for me, I was selling already, but I think the like I said, the confidence that I gained from being confident enough to say, this is my full-time gig now.
Yeah.
It was my full-time gig before, but I wasn't really saying it. I don't think I was kind of like, I'm going to do this, but I'm a little nervous. Now I'm like out here. I mean, my studio has windows. People are walking by right now. Like I'm out there, like, as an artist, a full-time artist. And so, yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it was valuable that way, for sure.
So fun to see you doing that. Marsha, what are your thoughts on, if somebody is like, but will I sell more art? Hard stop. What's the answer?
Most definitely. And I agree. You've taught us that in Studio Elite, and what DeAnne was saying, that we have to have strong art in order for people to want to buy it. So that is definitely an important part of it. But I was blown away. Here I am, Miss Hobbyist, and now I'm a freaking artist. And as I put my holiday collection out, like, I sold 20 paintings in 30 minutes, 30 freaking minutes. And I was like, I almost had to have like CPR, because I'm like, you helped us in so many ways behind the scenes be prepared for that, setting up Artwork Archive. And meanwhile, I did feel like I was in Las Vegas, like, and all of a sudden people were bidding, and it was like, no, that one's already sold. No, wait a minute, maybe you can buy this one instead. And so it was quite thrilling to release a collection for a first-time newbie, but I was very proud of myself. And I feel like you had prepared me for that and beyond. And then, of course, after you sell a collection, the confidence builds. And I can't wait to make it the next collection. Mm-hmm. And I learned things that I might do differently. But it was after Rick.
That was so fun to watch.
Yeah,
it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was
fun.
quite. But yeah, we learned so much along.
You jumped into the fire. I was going to say, you jumped right into the fire, like selling your first collection right away.
I cool. Totally did. But, then that lights a fire inside of us, right?
Yeah.
And you helped us with so many behind the scene things. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do Studio Elite, is I wanted to learn, the non-glamorous things behind the scenes that you need to set up in order to have a successful business. And if you can't handle it yourself, you talk to us about, hiring someone part-time, and what does that look like, and how do we go about doing that? And so, there were so many really monumental things that you taught us. And then there were these things that you just think people might know, like, take a picture of your finished art before you varnish it. I didn't know that. So it's not all glossy.
I know that, and I still forget.
I know. Yeah. So
that's so true. I hired an assistant during Studio Elite, which I had never even thought I would ever do. And I remember Jody giving me all the advice on how to do that. So, and it's been
fun. That was fun also, because the story was, you were like, but I only need somebody for, what was it, 5 hours a week or something?
Yeah,
like
6 hours maybe at the most. Yeah.
And you were talking to your husband, and he was like, you were like, that's not going to happen. And then it happened.
Yeah. He's like, just tell her what you need. If she doesn't want it, she doesn't have to take it. You don't have to create this big job. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think of it that way. And it's worked out incredible. It's been incredible. So it's perfect.
Yeah, those, one of the things we talk about is when you hire somebody, they should make their own salary, basically. It's like when you hire someone, it's like, I expect that we're going to 3 to 4x in sales, your salary, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It really does work out. Okay, so we're about to wrap this up, but not without asking you the question that a previous guest asked. Okay, so the previous guest asked, and then after that, I want to get your question for the next guest. Okay, so the previous guest asked.
It's hard to say.
That's really hard to say. And I'm going to start with you, Marsha.
Okay.
How do you cultivate joy in your creative practice?
All right. How do I cultivate joy in my practice? For me, it all starts with the energetic state. When I walk into my studio, like just checking in with where am I energetically? Sometimes I am at a high vibration, sometimes not so high. And so I kind of have to see, how do I get myself in that space that I'm going to put good energy onto this canvas? Sometimes it's not, and then I cover it up. But the energetic space is important. I set intention. I'll do a clearing meditation, and then there's definitely music involved and dance involved. That brings the joy out in me. And I like to dance, paint, and you think you're pretty cool, and you got your paintbrush, and you're just going at it, and no one's watching. And also, I mentioned earlier, my mother started painting in her 50s, and she has passed now. But whenever I paint, I feel connected to my mom, and she was such a joyful being. So I think about here I am with Evelyn, and we're dancing and painting, and that puts me in a joyful state. And letting intuition and curiosity lead the way as I paint is really important to me.
Yeah. Dance is a big one for me too, and just elevating myself and finding joy. It's a big one. Not even when I'm just painting, but just in general. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
How about for you, DeAnne? How do you cultivate joy in your creative practice?
I don't think I have to do a lot. There's just joy involved. I think what I am like Marsha in that I do light a candle and put on music always. But I'm a firm believer that you don't have to feel inspired and feel joyful to paint. I think what I do is I just start, and I think that it comes. Like I always think, a big thing that's important to me is that I just need the inspiration to find me working. So I set a time and know that I'm going to paint at this time. And then I just start, and all of it comes. I mean, that's my absolutely happy, joyful place, no matter what. Like there really isn't, to me, a time painting that's not, or even a time just creating in general. If I'm doing art journaling with my group, like I do so much prep, and then I it was a lot of work to get it ready. But then when I get to my workshop, I'm so happy to be there. Like I never feel like this is work. It just feels like pure joy every single time. So I don't know. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah. I also like that you brought up, you don't have to show up joyfully. Like you just show up however you are, right?
Exactly. The most important thing is to just show up. I think that would be like my number one piece of advice for anyone, is just get there. I mean, we know Stephen Pressfield, that's his book, but it's just like, get yourself there where you need to be, and then everything happens.
Yeah, for sure. Ladies, okay, we're going to have a guest after you.
This guest is going to get 2 questions.
They're going to get 2 questions.
Well, we may have to split it up with 2 different guests. I don't know really how we're going to do this yet. We'll have to ask Amy, our executive producer. She'll tell us. She's the boss of me, I think. So Marsha, what is your question for our next guest?
My question is, what kind of art would you make if you didn't care what anyone said or thought?
Ooh, that is good. What kind of art would you make if you didn't worry about what anybody cared or thought? Did I get that right? Yeah, that's a great one. Ooh, I can't wait to, that's juicy. I can't wait to hear
know.
what somebody says. DeAnne, what's your question for our next guest?
My question is, how do you break through creative blocks?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I think there's a million ways to do that, but I'd be curious to hear.
That's a good one because I'm hearing that a lot lately. I think people have a lot of COVID fatigue from, just the years of going on, and I'm hearing and just kind of things are going on in the world. A lot of people are feeling that. So that's a great question. And I'll be curious to see what our guest says about that. I don't ever want this conversation to end because
I know.
I've missed you guys, and you're such thoughtful women, incredible women. I feel so lucky to just be able to call you my friend. And I'm grateful that you shared so much of your wisdom with the audience, the Honest Art audience. Marsha, where can people find you? What's the best way for them to find you?
Sure, they can find me on Instagram at Marsha Nieland. It's Nieland. And on Facebook, I have a more specific page for my art, which is Marsha Nieland Creations. And my website is marshanieland.com. And there's a gallery of art on my website.
Awesome. And we're going to put that in the show notes too, for both of you. DeAnne, how can people find you?
My website is DeAnneWilliamson.com, and Instagram is probably where I hang out the most, and that's DeAnne Williamson Art.
Amazing.
So.
That's awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much. And let's stay in touch. I know we will, but I really appreciate it.
I don't want to go either. It's good to see you guys.
Thank you for the opportunity, Jody. Thank you so much.
This was super fun.
You're so welcome. Y'all take good care.